So we're working on circumference of a circle today. At this point you should have some paper out on your desk while you're watching the video to take notes and to do some example problems. First we're going to go over some key terms about circles. So on your paper right now, draw a small circle. And the definition of a circle on here is just a set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a given point called the center. So on your circle, will you draw the center point right now, which kind of looks like that, and label your center C. Next, what we're going to talk about is that segment. Segment CD, whose endpoints are the center and at any point on the circle. That's always called a radius. So a radius always goes to the exact center of the circle and goes anywhere else on the outside of your circle. You can have an infinite amount of radius. So right now on your paper, will you draw a radius on your circle and label it CD? Feel free to pause the video at any time if I'm going too fast. Next segment we're going to talk about is this one right here. This is segment AB. And we call that a chord because what a chord is basically a line that is connected to 2 points on the outer circle. Notice it does not go through, this chord that I drew does not go through the center. So right now, will you draw a chord anywhere on your circle and label it AB? I could have drawn another one like that. And why don't you draw a little arrow and label it chord, so you can remember what a chord is. And if you haven't yet, label your radius on your paper. All right, next one we're going to talk about is this line segment, EF, and that is actually our diameter. It's a chord, but it runs through the exact center of the circle. And your diameter can be anywhere on your circle, as long as it goes through the center of your circle. So right now, will you draw a diameter on your circle and label it EF? Once you've drawn it, draw an arrow and label it diameter. So you can come back later to use these as your notes to figure out what these key terms mean. The other one that we're going to talk about is an arc. An arc is just 2 points on the outer circle and that curved line that connects them. And again, you could have an arc anywhere. Whoopsie. You could have this be your arc if you wanted. Arc DE. So that's what an arc is. Now when we're dealing with circumference, you have to know kind of the relationship between diameter and a radius. Your radius is always just half of your diameter all of the time. Or we could say the opposite, your diameter is twice the radius. For example, if I had a radius that was equal to 2 centimeters, you'd be able to tell me that the diameter equals what? You should have said 4 centimeters. If I say the diameter is 10 meters, then you would know the radius would be, cut that in half, 5. So let's do some practice problems. First thing you need to know what a circumference is. Circumference is the distance around a circle. And to find that circumference, you always need to take pi times diameter. In this case, pi we're going to use is equal to 3.14. And you always take that and you multiply it by whatever the diameter is. And that gives us our circumference. So when you're looking at this diameter right here, know that that's about, the circumference is about 3 times that. So that's where 3.14 comes from. So number 1, write the circle on your paper, label it, and then we are going to find the circumference. So if our formula is circumference equals diameter times pi, right now we don't know what the diameter is, we only know what the radius is. So if my radius equals 5, I can easily find my diameter by doubling it, or multiplying by 2, and I get 10. Now you can plug that into our equation. We want to do pi times diameter, so 3.14 times 10. A lot of you could do that in your head. If you can't, plug it into your calculator right now. You should get 31.4. So my circumference equals 31.4. Make sure you label it centimeters. And when you're using your calculator, that's fine, but still make sure you're showing your work. So if you make any little mistakes, we know where we can help you. Number 2, write this one on your paper. Draw the circle, label it. Again, to get the circumference, we do pi times diameter. In this case, I know what the diameter is. It's 11 feet. So right away, I can just do 3. Oh, that's a crazy 3. 3.14 times 11. Grab your calculators. I get 34.54. That is what my circumference equals. Make sure you go back and you label it. Feet. And that's my final answer. One more practice problem to do. This time you have to think backwards. I'm giving you the circumference, but I want to know what the radius of my circle is. So if you come up with your equation again, right now I know C, I know circumference, so I'm going to just kind of plug this into my equation here. And you've solved equations before. You need to isolate the variable. So the first step you want to do is you want to figure out what D is. So instead of multiplying by pi, you're going to divide by pi. And if you do that on the right side, you have to do that on the left side. So really over here, you're getting D equals, you want to calculate this, 47.1 divided by pi, in this case 3.14, and I get 15. So my diameter equals 15, but the question is, what is the radius? So you have to divide this by 2 to get the radius. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. And our label is inches, so we say the radius equals 7.5 inches. So those are the 3 practice problems. Hopefully you can use your notes now to answer the practice problems. Good luck. Have a good day.